After the team finishes presenting all items that were completed during the sprint, Dave steps back to the front of the room. You've seen each item that was completed during the sprint, and we appreciate all of the feedback that you've shared with us. Now, I'd like to take the opportunity to update you on how we're progressing towards our overall release goal. Dave opens the release burn-up chart so it can be seen by all attendees. This chart illustrates both the amount of work that's currently being considered for this release, as well as our forecasted delivery date. The orange line indicates the current estimate of all items being considered for this release, which you can see is just under 120 points. And the blue line indicates the number of points that the team completed in our previous sprint, which is around 20 points. While it's a bit early in the project to make solid projections based on what the team has completed in this first sprint, we're currently pacing to wrap up all work being considered in 6 two-week sprints, or about 12 weeks. Counting the sprint that we just completed, that takes us into the beginning of October. However, knowing that our annual user conference is happening in the middle of September, I want to plan for an official release of our new version by the beginning of September. This means that our delivery deadline is actually 2 sprints earlier than we're forecasted to complete all work, so we'll need to plan to push about 40 points worth of items into a future release. I do want to stress, though, that this is only our first sprint, so we'll continue to update this chart each sprint as we learn more about what our development team's expected velocity for each sprint is, as well as continue to refine our estimates for those items that are further out in the future. Deborah, Globomantic's VP of Development, raises her hand. If every feature is important, then why not wait until they're all complete before we release? Dave responds, planning releases around features encourages us to keep those releases open almost indefinitely, since we'll always be able to think of just one more feature. Instead, I prefer to plan releases around hard dates rather than specific feature sets. By constraining ourselves to a specific date, we're forced to prioritize aggressively the features that will actually be included in the release. While all features that we're considering will probably add value in some way, some features add significantly more value than others, and to be honest, some simply don't add enough value to justify the investment that it will take for us to bring them to market. Committing to a date will force us to only include those features that we agreed will make the biggest impact on the product, while leaving those features that may only make a marginal impact to the side. Since our product backlog is always prioritized, this means that we can all rest assured that our absolutely lowest priority features will fall into that final 40 points. But while the release burn-up chart is an excellent tool for communicating the project status in points, I also want to translate what this means to you in terms of features, so we can be sure that we are being as transparent as possible about what will and what will not be included in our next release. Currently, our plan is to include high-value features such as improved export functionality, revenue forecasting, and cash flow optimization in the September release. Features that we feel are comparatively lower value, such as expanded options for social login, additional user profile data, and enhancing our online tutorial to be more interactive, will be included in a future release. While I'm happy to discuss my rationale for where I've prioritized any of these features, I do want to share an addition that I've made to the release burn-up chart to help illustrate the potential value of including all features. At Alan's urging, I've begun adding a business value score to each item in our product backlog. This score is pretty simple, as it's based only on a range of A to C, with A indicating items that yield the lowest business value, and C indicating those items that yield the highest. Now admittedly, this score is subjective, and it's based only on my assessment of each item's potential impact on the marketplace. But I've found that forcing myself to assign a specific business value to each item has already exposed a few fallacies and invalid assumptions that I'd held about many of the items I'd originally considered to be must-haves in this release. But maybe an even larger advantage of assigning a business value to each item is that it allows me to easily convert those scores to a numerical score and then project a business value burn-up chart right alongside our release burn-up chart, so we can better understand at which points in the release our investment in the development team will yield the most business value, and at which points the return on investment may be less than we would like. You can see from our business value burn-up that the vast majority of our business value is realized during the first 4 sprints. But as the team starts to move into the comparatively lower value items in the final 2 sprints, we start to get diminishing returns on the expected business value of the additional items. This not only confirms our assumption that we have little to gain by holding the release until all features are complete, and thus risking our market window, but it also tells us that it may even be more beneficial to transition the team to a new release full of items of higher business value after the 4th sprint, rather than allowing the team to complete the remaining low-valued items in the next release.